Pennines on his way to meet Pope Stephen II. But where other kings have failed in greatness, I will not, Napoleon reminded himself. His empire would grow beyond the wildest dreams of those who'd come before him. Nothing would stand in his way. Not armies, not weather, not mountains, and certainly not some upstart Austrians. A year earlier, while he and his army were conquering Egypt, the Austrians had brashly retaken the Italian territory annexed to France in the Campo Formio Treaty. Their victory would be short-lived. They would neither expect an attack this early in the year, nor would they imagine any army attempting to cross the Pennines in winter. With good reason. With its towering walls of rock and snaking gorges, the Pennines were a geographic nightmare for solitary travelers, let alone an army of 40,000. Since September, the pass had seen 30 feet of snow and temperatures that routinely dipped below zero. Drifts, standing as tall as 10 men, loomed over them at every turn, threatening to bury them and their horses. Even on the sunniest of days, fog cloaked the ground until mid-afternoon. Windstorms frequently arose without warning, turning a calm day into a howling nightmare of snow and ice that left them unable to see a yard in front of their feet. Most terrifying of all were the avalanches. Cataracts of snow, sometimes a half-mile wide, that roared down the mountainsides to entomb anyone unlucky enough to be in their way. So far, God had seen fit to spare all but 200 of Napoleon's men. He turned to Constant. "The quartermaster's report." "Here, General." The valet pulled a sheaf of papers from inside his coat and handed it to Napoleon, who scanned the figures. Truly, an army fought on its stomach. So far, his men had consumed 19,817 bottles of wine, a ton of cheese, and 1,700 pounds of meat. Ahead, down the pass, there came a shout from the outriders. "Laurent! Laurent!" "At last," Napoleon murmured. A group of 12 riders emerged from the blowing snow. They were strong soldiers, the best he had, just like their commander. Not a one rode hunched over, but all were erect, chins held high. Major General Laurent trotted his horse to a stop before Napoleon, saluted, then dismounted. Napoleon embraced him, then stepped back and gestured to Constant, who hurried forward and handed Laurent a bottle of brandy. Laurent took a gulp, then another, then handed the bottle back. Napoleon said, "Report, old friend." "We covered 8 miles, sir. No sign of enemy forces. The weather improves at the lower elevations, as does the depth of the snow. It will only get easier from here." "Good. Very good." "One note of interest," Laurent said, placing his hand on Napoleon's elbow and steering him a few feet away. "We found something, General." "And would you care to elaborate on the nature of this something?" "It would be better if you saw it for yourself." Napoleon studied Laurent's face. There was a glint of barely contained anticipation in his eyes. He'd known Laurent since they were both 16, serving as lieutenants in the La Fère artillery. Laurent was prone to neither exaggeration nor excitability. Whatever he'd found, it was significant. "How far?" Napoleon asked. 4 hours' ride. Napoleon scanned the sky. It was already mid-afternoon. Over the peaks he could see a line of dark clouds. A storm was coming. "Very well," he said, clapping Laurent on the shoulder. "We'll leave at first light." As was his custom, Napoleon slept 5 hours, rising at 6 a.m., well before dawn. He had breakfast, then read the overnight dispatches from his demi-brigade commanders over a pot of bitter black tea. Laurent arrived with his squad shortly before 7, and they set out down the valley, following the trail Laurent had broken the day before. The previous night's storm had dumped little new snow, but fierce winds had piled up fresh drifts, towering white walls that formed a canyon around Napoleon and his riders.